If you like the video, please consider supporting James Corp on Patreon. Right, good evening everyone, and welcome to our final part of Wrath and Glory Week 8, where we're going to do a short and sweet review of the game and what we thought about it, and so on and so forth. It shouldn't take too long, probably about an hour to an hour and a half. Yeah, we're going to go over our thoughts, mostly going to be positive. We're not people that are going to shit on something, because that's not how we are. We're positive. We send love to people and make everyone feel welcome. So I'm James Corp, and this is Chambers of Roleplay. We're going to go around the table, get people to introduce themselves and just themselves, and then we'll crack on and get on with this review. Don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, to like and subscribe, leave some comments below. Let us know how you thought the game went, or how you've enjoyed the game. That'd be interesting to know. If you enjoyed the game, what if you had any issues with the game, and so on and so forth. It'd be most interesting to get some discussions going on here or on Twitch chat as well. So, you know, if any of you played Wrath and Glory before, do let us know your own thoughts on the thing. I can bring that over here. But yeah, we're going to start with Neil.
Hello, my name's Neil. I had the joy playing the Inquisitor Davian Tor in the game. It's not my first game of Wrath and Glory. Might well be my last.
Sorry if I destroyed it for you. Oscar?
Yeah, I'm Oscar. I've not played Wrath and Glory before. We'll maybe do it again. We'll see. And I played the Tech Priest Ivan earlier, as well as a Space Marine.
Well, everyone played Space Marine in the last.
Last game.
Marcus or Mason or whatever your name is, because I don't know which one it is anymore.
It's okay. It's whatever you want, brother.
No. It's what you want it to be. It's not what I want it to be.
My name is Marcus. I played a Sanctioned Psyker, and then I ended up playing a Space Wolf. This was my first time playing Wrath and Glory, but I would play this again. I really would.
Nathan?
Hey, I'm Nathan Clark, otherwise known as Godless Polecat. Anywhere you care to find me online, you can catch me here playing and running games, acting like a jackass in general. I've never played Wrath and Glory before. I played the Imperial Special Operations Trooper Validius Payne, and I also played Space Marine in the last session. So.
All right, cool. It was. I think it was fun in general. I thought it was quite a fun thing. I sort of wish I did my own story from the start rather than trying to do a pre-written one, because, like I said, after the first story, I was like, "What is going on here?" And it was a bit weird. But it was the older edition of the game, so it was the one which was done under Ulysses Seal, is it? I forget what the
Ulysses Spiel.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Oh, I just suddenly had Ulysses 31 going into my head as soon as you said Ulysses. Right.
School.
All right. So we're going to do the review, and the first question is: what one thing did you like about the system and why? Who would like to go first? If not, I'll pick names.
Pick names.
Okay, I'll pick names. Marcus, what one thing did you
I
like about
knew
the
it.
system?
I knew you were gonna pick me. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
You could all think that. You know, you could all
Good.
thought like I'm going to be picked first, and said that when I said the name.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan. Like, honestly, I'm a huge fan of 40K. I've loved 40K forever and a day. So anything, I'm gonna have a 40K bias no matter what they come out, except for super expensive model pieces. I'm not a fan of that. But I just enjoyed just the whole experience, the immersion, playing the different roles that are not Space Marine. I thought that was pretty cool, because everyone wants to be a cool Space Marine, but I thought it was pretty awesome.
All right, cool. Nathan.
Yeah, I'm gonna mirror Marcus's point, is the inclusion of other roles other than Space Marine, and I like the uplift system, like how you can like level a character up basically to the rank system and tier system, how you can tier a character up with experience points to gain certain abilities and traits and stuff, so that you're not completely like, an orc can, if you were doing an all orc campaign, if an orc like war boss, not everybody has to be like a tier three orc. You can have orc war boys that are like experienced up to be, to be playable alongside of something. Or
I was very, very tempted to do an all like when I initially thought about doing Wrath and Glory. An all orc party was definitely on the cards to be, have everyone play an orc, but I didn't have any of the other source books, so there wasn't as many options. I don't think. Well, there's probably no options anyway. But but I really was tempted to do an orc boys group, and have you all speaking like orcs.
Yeah, like you could be subjected for 6 weeks of my ridiculous Cockney accent, but there was like, you could have just put us on a planet somewhere and just let us go. We would have gave you an adventure. If we're just a bunch of orcs, we'd have thought of something to do. I like that. I like the tier system and how you can match different levels of characters, so everyone's not shoehorned into one specific.
Yeah, for me, pretty much the same thing. I like the fact there's loads of different characters you can play, and not all just human. I like the fact you could play a bunch of orcs, or you could be a bunch of Eldar, or other things as well. Like, what else was there? Kroot, which came later in the player's guide, and you also had like Ratlins, and you could also play Ogrins as well. I thought that was good. I thought it definitely needs more non-human options. I definitely think they need to get on that. Get some more, other classes or no, archetypes, isn't it? Other archetypes for different races. Just get more options out there for them, so you can like then have a bunch of boys running around, all different, doing different things, like a commando boy or a burner boy or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have all that, and I think as the game progresses and gets more resources to it, I think it will be even stronger. Neil?
I really like Gilead. I like the setup of the game, because having the full 40k universe to play in is going to be an absolutely, impossible for a GM to handle. So you would tend to focus down onto just one sector anyway. But to actually have the game set in this sort of previously cut off sector, and you're part of this expeditionary force that can't necessarily get lots of reserves anyway, gave it a really solid framework. Having the rogue trader that was there with your backup, it was a really good just core setup for the game that set out some rules that stopped some of the silly bullshit that could happen in a 40k game of like, I'll just ring up my boss, the Inquisitor, and they can send in a legion of Space Marines to sort out the problem.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree that with that as well. I do. Sometimes if you're given too much as a GM, you don't know where to start. Right? It's just too many options. Right? Where if it's with the whole Gilead system being cut off, you've got a lot less of a, like, you've got more of a creative focus rather than like you could go anywhere and be anywhere. So yeah, I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
To piggyback on that, I love when I tend to run games where the characters are isolated, as like not isolated, but like they're the only, like for instance in D&D, if I run a D&D game, the characters are adventurers. They're the only adventurers, like pretty much in the campaign, or in there's no other group of people doing what they do. and like there's no other, like if it's aliens, there's no other group of heroes doing something. It's the characters are it. I think that as Neil pointed out, the system's isolation allows you to focus in more and do that. It's cool.
Cool. Oscar?
I really liked the character creation part. It was quite fast and easy. I also really liked the economic system that you had. Is stat wise instead of money currency thingy as well, and the requisition part, and that you could spend wealth to increase successes and so forth.
Did we even do that?
Yeah.
We did a short moment of that, like 2 times or 1 time.
Yeah.
See, I found that absolutely jarring. I just could not believe that system where it's like, oh, you're doing the Emperor's work, excellent, and you've got to go down and sort out this for the Emperor. Okay, can we have a communicator? No, you aren't rich enough to have a communicator.
Yeah, I mean, in that instance, it was a bit weird, but that can be worked around. Like, you change starting gear, add depending on the situation.
Yeah, I'll give you all torches next time, and you can Morse code each other.
Of course, as James and I discovered in the book, there's essentially an adventurer's kit option that you can get. Instead of buying a Vox bead, you can buy the adventurer's kit or whatever it's called, the munitions box or whatever. It's like a handy grab bag of all of the little things that we were piecemealing together. Do we have a torch? Have we got to communicate? Are they with a med pack? It's like, oh no, you just get them all in a big box instead. Should have read better. Victory through better research. That's it.
I'm pretty sure we got issued Vox beads when we were in the room and we were being offered grapes. I'm pretty sure we got given those things. I'm super serious.
Maybe we mistook them for grapes.
As the GM running it, I don't remember that happening, but okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Cool. All right, I'm going to pick on Oscar again. Oscar.
Yep.
What one thing did you not like about the system and why?
I'm not too much of a fan of the rolling a ridiculous amount of dice and trying to source out what that means. I'm not too much of a fan of that system. It's a bit like, if you have a lot of dice, then I prefer the year 0 engine style more. That just sixes mean a success, rather than having 5s and 6s, and 6s meaning critical success that you could use for things. And yeah, I think it's a bit too much for me personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nathan?
For me, it was the crunch. Let me preface this by saying that I am a fan of like crunchy games. I don't dislike crunchy games. I'm a fan of Shadowrun, versions 2, 3, and 5. So I'm not a stranger to crunch, but it was almost like, it felt like too many rolls to get like one thing done. And the VTT integration made it really, really easy, but it was still, roll to hit, like we were discussing earlier, like roll to hit, roll to wound, roll to soak damage. It was just like, really, you can't just have a flat armor value. And, it's just, there might have been they play tested and the other methods didn't work, but I thought it just could have been simple. It didn't. The stuff with psi powers was, with psychic stuff was just bonkers too. But it was for a small, like a dialed in war game. That's what it is. It's a dialed in war game, and it needs that level of crunch. But I thought I was going to kind of come into a more role playing experience and not let in, much more, because there wasn't that many options to be like a support role. Like there's no skills besides Medicae to heal somebody that really I tried to do it in the last session of Space Marine. I tried to make a Space Marine that was like leadership focused, But when I looked at the leadership skill, its only use is to take away conditions like fear or paralyzed or something. It takes conditions away. You make a leadership roll and get soldiers moving again. But there's no like trait that you can have that can like have a guy go out a turn or take an extra turn or re-roll a die or something. It's all. So I just kind of focused on keeping the glory pot full.
Right.
Because that's how you can kind of like help people out, as everybody can pull from the glory pile. Yeah.
Marcus?
I'm gonna caveat with what everyone else is saying. Is just there's too many roles, man. There's just too many. There's way too many roles. I mean, I understand that this is a dialed in micro version of like a war type scenario. There was a role for everything, and that kind of like took a lot of the fun or even some of the steam out of the actual gameplay itself.
Neil?
I'd not just jump on the bandwagon and say just too many dice hitting the VTT, but there was a lot. What I was really disappointed with, I mean, in my previous time with the game, I really enjoyed this as well. I had a great time shouting at people, but I'd played a Psyker, and obviously you play a Psyker, you've got an entire chunk of the book to play with. And to spend points on and to expand into and to play around with. I was really disappointed by the lack of depth that there was in terms of the talents that supported certain builds, a bit like what Nathan said. I think there were 3 talents that I looked at and thought, realistically, they are Inquisitor type talents. There wasn't a huge amount of options. And even when I was building the Space Marine for the last session, there wasn't a huge amount of options there either of specifically Space Marine talents or ones that you would think, but not a Space Marine talent. It's not a little book either. It's not a
450 pages.
Yeah, it's not a slim book, and they're just. It seems to flatter to deceive in the amount of flexibility that there is within there, and that then becomes apparent when you're actually playing the game, and that the roles that you have, and just the way the rules work, and it's all just a bit complex for what it needs to do. I know we commented after we've played a few times, God bless the VTT. Because I can't imagine what it must be like playing it face-to-face, playing a combat face-to-face, having to pick up all the dice, having to then divine the dice, work out how many successes you've got, and then do that 2, 3, maybe 4 times in one combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then your traits modify all that.
Yeah.
Your traits don't add like an extra ability. Your traits modify the icons you can shift to certain things, or how much you can shift to damage. So it changes what you just sussed out.
And some of that was, and what I loved about the VTT implementation was that some of that, well, a lot of that was already built in. Whoever designed it had done a really stand-up job on automating a lot of the traits. Face-to-face, you'd have to do that. So you'd have to know when something applied and how it changed it, and then make the changes you build your dice pool. I can imagine face-to-face, it's like trying to wade through treacle.
Yeah.
So that was just it. There didn't seem to be many options mechanically. I'll come on later when we see about what's the best thing about the game. That left a bit of room for a bit of interpretation, but mechanically it was just, there's better ways of doing it. The game technology we have available to ourselves nowadays, there are better ways of doing what it was trying to do. And as Nathan said, it tries to use the same style of mechanics that you might find in the war game, but they don't necessarily translate into a smooth and clippy, good storytelling role-playing game.
Those talents weren't talents at all. Like those talents for Space Marines, I feel like when they made the talents, like, all right, how can we set these guys back? And so each talent at each faction or each legion or chapter from the Space Marines, it was something that just it set you back. It didn't help you at all, like not one bit. It came with like, you got this, but also here's this as well. That's going to happen. If you see blood, you got to roll. If you're a blood angel, it's talents are horrible.
To see, there's a couple like talents that I was going to pick as a spaceman. I wrote down was like Angel of Death, Dual Wield, Fearless, Storm of Death, Unnatural Skill, and Transhuman Attribute. And Natural Skill and Transhuman Attribute add dice to a skill roll. So an attribute would be Will, and my Unnatural Skill would be adding dice to my Leadership skill. And then like Storm of Death is like attacking everything on the screen, and then like Dual Wield is obviously dual wielding things, so it helps. It's all combat based. It's not like I couldn't find. I was looking for leadership traits and so I ended up having to look at traits that would give me a shit ton of dice to roll, so that I could add points to the glory pool, and then have people pull from the glory pool to help their rolls and act like a leadership roll that way. That's what I was like. That's what I was kind of like looking to do. And I played a Space Marine that was tier 3 to everybody else's tier 4 Primaris.
Yeah.
So I was deliberately trying to explore the tier rule. And I think, my guy with the points that I had, it you know what I mean? I felt like I was like even with the rest of the group and stuff, but until like Marcus swung that chain axe and did like 35 something damage to one thing with one chain axe. It's like shit. But yeah, it felt sorry, go ahead.
If I'd taken the option of dual wielding heavy flamers, I think I might have been shouted at.
Whew, you would have been the man. There's 2 flamers?
Yeah.
That would have been nasty. You stand behind Neil's character the whole time.
Yeah, just walk.
He just like,
I mean, a tech marine with a gun mecha dendrite with a heavy flamer on it, and then holding a heavy flamer in the 2 other hands.
And the rest of us just carry tanks of fuel for him.
That's
it. It's out of fuel, just pass it forward. Here you go, man.
Just keep dumping the promethium in the tank.
Yeah.
Keep you topped off.
Or marshmallows, one of the two.
Everyone got their.
So for me, I am jumping on. There was too many dice rolls. I found it a very almost old school system where you was rolling to hit, rolling to damage, and then rolling to soak. It was like, wow, this feels like Star Wars D6 or Vampire the Masquerade. Where you would like roll. You roll a hit, and then you roll your damage. And then then they rolled to soak the damage. Yeah, it felt very, very old school, and it just added rather than it just being one dice roll and you go, right, I've got that many successes. That's how much damage I do. Do you know? I much prefer those sort of systems where it's like just one dice roll and you're done. Maybe 2. I'm quite happy to have 2 dice rolls. Yeah. But the 3rd dice roll is like. Right, now you got to roll this to convert the damage from like wounds into strain, and I found it very quite unenjoyable to run, to tell you the honest truth, as a games master.
It was like taking one of those. I don't mind the roll to soak, because that's kind of like your defense roll. Like it's tough, armor, or dodging. Right, that's your character's like, oh shit, I'm hitting the ground or whatever. But there's no like one of those rolls, like the roll for damage. One of those need to be a static number. Like you hit with this, it does this much damage, and here's your, you know what I mean. The way the extra damage was done is that's what we were rolling. We're rolling extra damage, so it was just kind of odd.
Yeah, instead of having the damage roll, you could have had like the extra successes bleed over to damage or something like that. It would have been.
Yeah, that could have been. That could have shortened it right up. Yeah.
All right. Right. Next question is: did you find the mechanics support the story, or did it get in the way? I'll start this one. I found they got in the way. I found the rules got very much in the way of telling the story. I didn't find the rules flowed very well. In the fact of telling telling a story in the 40k universe. I was very hopeful about this when I first read the book, because it was like, oh, this seems really rules light. Like, compared to like Dark Heresy, you know, it feels like less crunchy. No, I was fucking wrong. I was seriously fucking wrong.
You were right. It was very rules light when it came to like role playing and investigating, because it's just a skill roll, and then it's up to us to like interpret that and act and role play. Very rules light. But like I just kept like we'll just dovetail into what I thought. I think you're absolutely right. It is rules light when it comes to role playing. There wasn't really any, like, past the first session, I was like, oh wait, we probably need to find something to kill. Or what are you like, because I was getting not frustrated, but I was like, we're trying to investigate, but there's no real like mechanism for like investigation, really. It's like a skill roll, and you would give us a clue based on what the pre-written adventure said. So it was like, all right, I'm just going to find some gangers or whatever, and I'm just going to start killing and or beating people until they get me to who I need to kill. Like who, you know, until they get me to the person that I need to like, which, you know, I guess is the Arbites, but it's the Adeptus Arbites. But it was like, yeah, why are we like sifting through a crime scene? Like, let's just go knock heads together until someone gives somebody up. That's what it was like. You know, that's what it felt like to me. It was like a side thing.
Marcus?
What do we got? What's the question again? I'm sorry.
The question is, did you find the mechanics supported the story, or did they get in the way?
They actually supported, because it's very free and open, kind of loose, kind of like you do whatever you wanted to do. So I mean, I didn't have a problem with that, like the actual mechanics of the game. It was my primary issue is going right back to the roles, man. Like there was a role for every single thing, and I didn't give you that crunchy. And so this is my first time. For a first-time player, it's very, very difficult, and it's a very steep curve to get around and try to learn. So I just felt like I was on the back foot the entire time.
I think given enough time, you could potentially like get over some of these hurdles with more knowledge of the system. Because
for sure.
Because I was as green as the rest of you. I'd never played it before. I'd never sat down and played Wrath and Glory. Ever. I'd only read it, so I think with enough time, I think you could potentially. I think it could be faster. I just think I wasn't ready. I think some of it might be down to me not feeling not ready, or feeling very unconfident about how what the system in general.
I think you're right there, because there's a certain degree of personal responsibility, isn't there, within these sort of rule systems, and we saw it amongst all of us. In this, you take the difference between the first combat that we had and the final combats with the Space Marines. In the first combat that we had, as soon as Oscar said, okay, I'm going to use my flangey mechanic arm to do a multi-attack cold shot and try and do this, everybody just went,
how many fucking modifiers or dice rolls is that?
and suddenly we were into keywords and different special rules for different things and trying to work out what the different, abbreviations meant. And it just was a
shit show.
It was hard.
Yeah.
Keep it
Sorry.
PG. Get to the final combat, and I'm walking around doing area of effect attacks with arcs that are setting things on fire. You're just like, you just roll the dice that does that, then that, and then we add some more wounds on. And even though we got things wrong there, because of course the extra burning wounds are a rolled thing, not a static thing. So you're actually supposed to roll them every time. Because we love the sound of dice hitting the table.
Yep.
We were far more comfortable with the combat system. So I think it is something that we, so when we were making multi attacks, we were just adding on the +2 DN because we knew that's what you had to do now. We became more comfortable with it. We certainly became more comfortable with the idea of shock and wounds, what happened when you reach 0 on each. We became more comfortable with using glory and wrath, all those things that we stumbled at the beginning. we became much better at the end. But by the end, we also uncovered an entire other layer of stuff that we had to get used to as well. So it was, I think you could. I agree, you could, but whether you should is another matter altogether.
Yeah.
If you're a beginning player, it's like trying to swallow a pine cone. Like I can't tell you how many times I cringe at my own like saying. It was just like, all right, how do I do that into the microphone? I was just like, I wanted to punch myself in my own mouth because I was like, dude, stop asking these people. You should know this, but this game is so complicated. I just didn't know.
Yeah, I think with a game like this as well, players need to know their characters like inside and out and exactly how it works. Just because the GM has got so many fucking rules he's got to juggle, keywords, there's so much juggling that having to know the player character's character as well, you just can't do it. I think you just my brain. I think my brain melted quite a few times in that in the past 6 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, from my point of view, did it support the game, the play?
Yeah.
I think that the system itself, I'll say, it was all right. It felt like 40k, which was good. The basic combat system, yeah. And I thought, once we were in the saddle with that, beyond that, no. And I go back to, if you're gonna have a system that's about fighting things and have a game about fighting things, if that's what your game's about, then build a system for fighting things, but then make your game about that. Having a game that's got investigation in and all that sort of stuff. I'm a big advocate for books. You should put as much effort into the role-playing mechanics, if you're going to have them, as you do the combat mechanics. And as I've said, we have games that do investigative stuff, that do unpeeling onion plot lines. Nowadays, we have systems. We have Gumshoe does it really well. You have clocks and the sort of methods that you use of blades in the dark for heists and things like that work really, really well, and remarkably well for delivering what they need to do. And you can, a system doesn't have to copy them, but it can look and go, well, what's likely going to be the pillars within my game of what I do, and then address them. And I don't think this game did. This game addresses combat, and it's like a tome of combat. And the combats were quite cool. In fact, the combats were very cool. But the rest of it comes very old school. Mother may I with the GM. There's no real way mechanically to get around the fact that we are not 40th millennium inquisitorial hangers on who are used to dealing with this sort of thing. We are who we are, and so we can't make that logical jump all the time. We're beyond that. Games are beyond that now, I think. He says, waiting for Twitter to come and roast him.
I think a lot of the issue is that because Cubicle 7 inherited this game from Ulysses, didn't they?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I don't know the ins and outs. It's not something we're going to discuss in this video, but yeah, I think they inherited, and I think they've done the best they could to fix the errors of the system. But I think maybe another edition or maybe going back to the drawing boards may help it in a way.
I think what's interesting is if you look at what the future releases are, you've got, I think there's something coming out very, very soon that's like a space Hulk type affair.
Right.
So that'll be all combat.
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, sounds awesome. And then there's the big book of vehicles.
Yep.
And, all their role-playing. No, that's more combat, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the things to get you into bigger combat. It's fine. That's what the game's going to be about. Then awesome. But let's not pretend it's a game of high court drama, because it ain't.
And I'll mention something too about Ulysses Spiel. they do really good work. Their version of the Shadowrun 5e book in German is way easier to read, way well put together, and way better laid out than the English Shadowrun 5e. So they have a really good track record of putting out like really good products and stuff. They're not, yeah. I just think it's game design in two different directions.
And Oscar, what about you? Did you find the mechanics support the story, or did they get in the way?
As everyone has said, I think it's a bit of both. Depends on what you're going for in the gameplay. If you're going for combat, I think worked quite well. A bit too many dice rolls, but that's it. Otherwise, it worked fine. And when it comes to investigation, I think it was a bit flat. As we said, it didn't have enough stuff, sort of like to expand it more.
I mean, that might have been an issue with the written story though, because I was running a pre-written story,
that
and
might
there
be
was
that
like,
as well.
and like the first thing you guys did was like, right, the governor's gone missing. Let's investigate that, and there was nothing in the book about it. Nothing in the first story about the missing governor. I was like, fuck, I should have just written my own thing. Anyway, I had another idea. If I did my own the other idea I had of doing my own thing was I was going to start you with Space Marines on a Space Hulk and then transition to a planet that's actually been infested by gene stealers. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, they're the ideas that I had. But anyway, right, last question. What was your favourite moment from the game?
I'll go first.
Okay.
My favorite moment was when I got 3 wrath complications in a row that were all the exact same thing, and that caused we just said it was my character was having flashbacks of being stuck on a planet with what are the Tyranids? Yeah, Tyranids. Yeah. So it's in amongst us trying to sneak into that religious cult festival meeting thing. So I was up on the roof coming unglued, hey, I'm going to start lighting these people up. It's gene stealers. I know it's gene stealers. This is what we're going to do. And I'm giving Oscar's character a hand grenade. You're going to drop this shit in too. We're going to open fire on the crowd, and then Oscar's like, no, go cover that side or whatever. And then I see the dude leading with this procession of people. And I just took it up on myself to shoot on top of his limo, derail the whole campaign.
Derailed the entire campaign from that point.
You put it on screen. If it's on screen, it's in the game.
That was legit. That was
put on screens in the game, and it ended up being gene stealers. So he was correct. That was a great the wrath and glory portion of the game is in there and does work well. And I thought it was, and honestly, it was. I got really good at combat from that because it was my character kind of keeping 6 gene stealer hybrid things occupied while everyone else was finishing up what they were doing and then coming to help me and finishing off. So I got really good with all right, roll attack, roll damage, they're damaging me. Cool. This is how I soak damage. So right off the bat, I was pretty familiar with what I needed to click and roll and in terms of soaking damage and defense and stuff like that and attacking. So I thought
I thought that was an amazing scene. And the fact that I'll be contributing now to James's therapy bills for what happened afterwards for the next couple of months is fine. It's fine. It's totally fine.
What therapy bills?
Well, big ups to Oscar though, because Oscar was like, this could have gone way south, quicker than when it did. And because me and Neil were down in the crowd, and Oscar was playing it real cool that, hey man, listen, our friends are down there in the crowd. You don't want to be dropping grenades down there. And you were like, all right, if anything happens, it's going down. And I was like, this is when we all figured out we had no communications with each other. And that's when it all went bad.
It's I'm coming unglued and I'm like, listen, you're either with me or you're not. You understand? And Oscar's like, calm down. It's okay. He's not talking to a person anymore. He's talking to a psycho. This is a gun. This is a gun with a body attached to it.
I'm looking at Oscar bro, can I talk to him? And you're like, no, we don't have communication. I'm just trying to mentally tell him we tell him we're down here. And then just right after he goes, oh, hey, relax. They're down there. So you might want to chill out. I was like, oh, thank God.
My favourite moment was Marcus running back and forth in that last game, trying to get into some form of combat and just failing miserably, being at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Every time.
Constantly.
Every time.
It was
I was
great.
so excited about that, too.
Just run around with axes.
Yeah.
I want to kill something.
But I finally killed something, though. And when I did, it was glorious.
With one hit.
One hit.
You're like, wow. And then like, hey, sorry, folks, we're out of time.
No, and then when I swung, the axe got stuck in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That was nice.
Ugh.
What about you, Marcus? What was your favourite moment?
I like the fact that the cycle that I played was really helping out. It was doing a lot of damage. We were on that train. We kind of got overwhelmed. And we ended up switching over, going from our original characters to the Space Marine. I was like, oh yeah, I'm playing a librarian. He was like, no, you are not. No, you are not. I was like, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. That was my favorite moment.
Oscar?
I think my favorite moment was when we were playing Space Marines, and I was kind of like, from lore-wise, knowing how Gene Stealers can open up a Terminator armor like Swiss cheese. I was like, okay, so I'm encountering a Gene Stealer, and I'm just wearing a normal Space Marine armor. And like, oh fuck, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Wait a second, I have a power sword. Sloop.
That concept, that idea what you've got there, where they can open up Terminator armor really easy, it's because they're in a not a pressurized environment. They're in a vacuum because it's usually a space Hulk, right? There's no atmosphere.
Yeah.
And what happens? All what Gene Stealer needs to do is put a little hole in the Terminator armor, and out comes the rest of the Space Marine, right? Through that tiny little hole.
See,
but Space Marines can survive in vacuum without the power armor.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that Gene Stealers are like that. I didn't know that their claws like cut through armor like that.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, when I hit the top of that limo and it's like 6 Gene Stealers, I'm like, I got this. This is okay. They don't have firearms. I've got firearms. So I started lighting them up, and then they start like, taking my legs out and tripping me. I'm like, okay, these things like hurt. I thought, their little stupid claws. It's like a dog attacking me. Like I can take this thing out.
That's what I thought.
And I was like,
oh, sorry, Oscar.
I'm sorry. And then I was with the power sword. Nice. One hit. Okay, it's fine. I will survive this.
Yeah.
Neil?
I have two. One's natural story bit, but the other one was just because I was like the weakest combat character, I was still able to go running into combat, long coat fluttering with my chainsword, and do just enough damage to be able to look like I was awesome. So many times where I was like cleaning up after people, but it looked like I was in my head, like I was an absolute hero carving through things. So I just, I went to bed with, patting the head of my own little psychopath in my head. But speaking of which, my favorite moments throughout the entire game were when I went off it on somebody, and particularly watching your face, James, when I opened up, especially at the end, when I was threatening to turn the planet into a penal colony, and your face was just like, is he angry with me or is he angry with the NPC? I'm not quite sure here. It was just choice. But yeah, being able, for once in a game, actually being able to play a character who was based on social skills that actually had the clout behind the because normally, when you're playing games, you have characters with really good social skills. And it's, you're like Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings all the time, aren't you? You're like, oh, please do what I want you to do because, I've got no authority over you at all. No, not this time. Not this time. No. I have all the authority in the world and the ability to exercise it. So, in we go. And that was really good fun. That's not a character you want to play all the time. But it was very good fun to be able to just cut loose and be Mr. Angry occasionally. So I really enjoyed that. Very cathartic. I just constantly imagined Boris Johnson on the other end of it and just let loose. It was lovely.
I like you get frustrated in games where you can think like your characters like, listen, I'm gonna, you speak with authority, get frustrated with something, or like an NPC is giving you attitude. And then you're just like, I'm tired of being treated like a little child in an adventure. It's like, do you know what I do? I fucking kill people for money and I pull treasure out of dungeons. That's what I do. Like, why are you giving me lip? Like, and it's like in this game, it felt like I thought that coin was that shoe was going to drop, but it never did. It was like, no. I'm an inquisitor and I will.
Yeah.
I'll just punch your ticket right now and I'll tell the psycho over here to eliminate you. And it's it felt good like that.
That idea of the blocker and the blocker administrative NPC, I'm afraid you can't come down here because you can't park your dragon there. It says in the city ordinance. No, we'll have your dragon towed away. It's a dragon, we don't care. You need to fill in the paperwork. That stuff is so tiresome. And it feeds into our real world sort of likelihood to address authority positively and to do what we're told. And it is nice to be the authority occasionally.
Yeah, it's like I follow the rules in real life. I'm not playing a role-playing game because I like following the rules. I like follow the game rules, but not not your invented society.
Does anyone else have anything?
How about you, James? What was your favorite bit?
Yeah, what was your favorite bit?
You did say it was Marcus running back and forth, but
yeah, that was my funny bit. That was my favorite bit. Was Marcus running back and forth trying to get into combat? My other favorite bit is, even though it completely derailed my plans, Nathan jumping on top of the car was one of my was a favorite moment. What else? What else was another favorite moment?
And you texted me after that session too. You were like, you completely ruined the plot for the next story. And I said, it's on screen, it's in game, brother. That's what I sent him.
He was the reason he wasn't in the actual the book. He wasn't in the pre-written story. I put him in there as a
You're foreshadowing
the actual plot, right? That was the plan, but whatever.
You should have said something like the limo was too, because I was thinking of what I could text to you afterwards. I was like, just the limo just sped off too fast. I didn't get to it.
I live and learn.
But that's what I was just going to say. Big up to you, James, because there are so many times that would happen, and you just go, you nearly land on top of the limo, but it just manages to gun at the right time and leave you behind. And you maybe see in the reflections on the window some people that look like gene stealers as they're going away. And that would have been enough, but you were like, no, this is what that character's going to do, and it sounds really cool. And it led on from 3 different complications, so he was completely in his own little Vietnam film in his head. He was going for it, and you didn't take that moment away at all. So it was a really brave refereeing decision, because with the limitations of the VTT, you knew you didn't have the resources there to be prepared to do it at all. You had to sort of bodge it and then stop and then get it ready for next week and change everything. So well done.
Yeah. That's why I was just thinking of, did James freeze?
Oh,
yeah, I think
James
so.
Froze.
He
Yeah.
did freeze.
It's the Twitch stream. The Twitch is frozen too. There he is. He's back.
Hey.
You froze first, James.
Yeah, you all froze to me, but your
Twitch
voice
is
just
back.
came through. Your voice just came through.
Okay. Cool.
Does anyone else have anything else to add?
I'm good.
All right, would you play it again?
I'll add something else. This is not a bad game.
No, it's not.
It's not a bad game
Not at
all.
Yeah. My expectations were more role playing. That's all.
Yeah.
As the game it is, it's very functional and very fun.
Yeah, and I think it would reward people who put a lot of effort into learning it and appreciating all of those rules. and getting the most out of it and living the tactical life that it delivers.
I think your idea, James, of having us like in a very small contained area first and then open up to a planet would have been better. Like if I was to run this again, I would set it in a very small setting, like you're a group of orcs on a ship, or your Eldar raiders, or like a group of Imperial people, like on that rogue trader ship, like going to do something like, hey, there's another ship out there, we're going to investigate it or whatever. And then keep the scope very tiny and very small.
Yeah, but you don't know. Yeah, but the thing is, you don't know how a game's going to play out, do you? That's
no.
the thing.
I know. Yeah. I'm just saying that's what I've learned from this session is I would keep it. That would have been the better call for you to run it as a smaller, contained environment first, and then open us up to a.
Because I've had many thoughts about like 40k RPGs over the years. One idea is you'd have two sets of characters. One set of characters would be more around the social investigation aspect, and then you'd have a bunch of like Death Watch. Is it Death Watch? Yeah, Death Watch Space Marines, who you call in to do the do the final deed. So you know when you find the this Gene Stealer cult, you would then call in your Space Marine allies and switch over to the characters, and that's why I would then start the game in a Space Hulk, with you starting as the Space Marine characters and then switching and so on and so forth. I think that'd be kind of a cool way of handling it.
That would be super cool.
Like the other thing is like a bunch of orcs just doing something really fucking simple that they need to do, but you know, because of their grasp on vocabulary, it'll be more like, yeah, you need to go here and steal this vehicle from some Umis. You know what I mean? Steal the big truck from Umis.
And paint it red.
Of course. Well, at least put some red on it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think in total I did have fun. I will probably run it again at some point. I think yeah. I definitely the other thing as well, I mean it's not a review of the VTT, but I think as we played with it got more, there seems to be more things unlocked as we played as well. I think they updated it, like the whole character creation thing that I don't think was there at the beginning when we started, and then it was in the when we did the second set of characters for the Space Marines. Mm-hmm. The whole like we didn't know that we could click on the dice to like add them as a to rank to up your damage and shit, or add to the
shift
pool.
We didn't know we could we could use them to shift or choose to shift often.
Well, we know we could shift them. We didn't know there's no like, not that I could find, there might be, but I couldn't find any like, oh, this is how you use Wrath and Glory on Foundry. There's no like walkthrough or anything. So, but we I think, and the guy that's done it is the same guy that did the Warhammer Fantasy Foundry thing, which is superb. So I imagine that eventually, because they're still working on it, I imagine eventually it will be a really good Foundry module to have on your because it will automate everything eventually, I imagine. But other than that, thank you all for playing. And thanks everyone for hanging out and watching us tread water for 6 weeks.
Tread water.
10 toes down.
So, let's do some final shout outs and we'll wrap up. Like I said, it would take an hour to an hour and a half, so an hour pretty much bang on. Neil, where can we find you and what do you do?
So goodbye from me. My name's Neil. You can find me on lambast me for my views on modern game design on Twitter at Vodka Shock. You can read my gaming blog at omnihedron.co.uk. And as the nights grow dark this year, you can join me because I'm going to be running the One Ring here on James Corp and the run up to Christmas.
Is it the run up to Christmas? Hang on.
It is. It's October through till the end of November, which to me is the run up to Christmas.
Yeah, 23rd of the 10th to the 27th of the 11th. That's the rest of the world way, okay? So you two Americans, just remember you need to put, we do day, month, year. So not month, day, year. All right, just so you, cause there's no 23rd month, right? I don't know if you knew that.
You're not making any friends here, are you, James?
I've just lost all my viewers. All right. Oscar, can we find you anywhere, or you just...
Not yet. I'm working on it, as always.
Okay. Marcus, your little faith podcast?
Yes, good old. If you want just some spiritual knowledge, just some healing, come hang out with me on the White Rabbit podcast, available on all your digital streaming platforms, your DSPs on Apple and Spotify, or you can go straight to the horse's mouth source. That's RSS. That's where I'm at. That's the White podcast, the White Rabbit podcast. Sorry. Thanks.
That's how I get it. I get it with RSS feed.
I just saw a blur.
Sorry, yeah, it blurred. That's why I put it away.
Nathan?
Yeah, I am Godless Polecat. Catch me here playing games or running games or acting like a jackass. I'm not going to be in the next test chamber, so it'll be 8 weeks before you see my smiling face again. But I'll be back to run a game, to run the Marvel Multiverse test chamber that we're doing. I will be hopefully publishing an adventure, but I'll plug that when it comes closer to completion and the idea behind it. Other than that.
Yeah, so as for the next game will be Fallout, using the 2D20 game. Next week will be session 1, where we basically make characters, and I'll be giving a elevator pitch of what the game is, and doing all the session 0 goodness that you're supposed to do on a session 0. Then the game after is Marvel. What's it called? Marvel
Marvel
Universe?
Multiverse RPG.
Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Marvel Multiverse.
And that starts on the 17th of July. And that's only 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
And then after that, we do Star Trek Adventures, which is the 28th of August until the 16th of October. And that's with Derwolf, who's going to be in the Fallout game next week. And then Neil's doing the One Ring on the 23rd of October till basically up to Christmas. And then we'll probably take Christmas off or do some one-shots over Christmas. And then we'll be back in the new year with a bunch of new games lined up. One of which will probably be Blade Runner, I reckon, at some point.
Yeah, I will run that.
And
with my adventure.
And maybe Sue running Varson, or maybe we'll get the Liminal group again and do another session of Liminal. The only issue with Liminal is that it's the worst performing of all of the videos that I've put forward, all of them. But oh well. But yeah, other than that, thank you all for watching, and we'll speak to you next time. Thank you. And bye-bye.
Peace out.